Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome to the Panther Insider Podcast driven by Ford. This is Dave Cohen, the radio voice of the Panthers. It's great to have you back again as we talk Georgia State athletics. And on this latest show, we're talking Georgia State football with head coach Shawn Elliott. Lots to talk about with everything going on in college athletics and college football. Georgia State will open the season on Thursday night, August 31, when they host the Rams of Rhode Island at Center Park Stadium. Season tickets available by calling the ticket office here at Georgia State, 404-413-4020, or online at georgiastatesports.com. Before we get to this week's podcast, I want to thank all of our Panther fans who have subscribed, rated, and reviewed our first 115 shows. If you've missed any of our previous podcasts, including a couple that Coach Elliott hosted himself, they're all available on our Apple Archives page. You can access that by visiting online at georgiastatesports.com. We're talking college football in this latest Panther Insider podcast, so right now, let's welcome to the Panther Radio microphones head football coach Shawn Elliott. Coach, great to see you. And an early spring practice schedule this year. As you've explained a few times, the benefits of going early on the back end as we get ready for season 14 of Georgia State football.
Hey, Dave. So, yes, early spring practice went, I think it was the Tuesday after signing date, and we come out there and we had beautiful weather. We had, what I thought was a really productive spring. There's a few different changes that we had coming into our winter workouts, so we weren't in that very long. We have a new strength and conditioning coach, Mike Sariano, and there were some things we wanted to get done. But the whole reasoning behind going to the early spring practice, and speaking with Mike, I said, where can we gain the biggest benefit? Is it go early, and that way we can build strength and mass on our guys? Because I think we needed that in a lot of areas to build the strength and the mass. And everyone always says, if you do have an opportunity that someone gets hurt, they have enough time to heal as well. So, but all in all, the spring went off with without a whole lot of injuries. A couple guys here and there. I think it worked out great, and it gives us a chance now as coaches to get on the road. I've been in my third different college here in the last few weeks, and it's always good to see different things.
I think you and I talked about that at the one of the spring tour stops. What do you look for? What are some of the benefits that you take away from? I know you've been to Clemson. I know you've been to Georgia. I know you were recently at the University of Florida.
Yeah, I look for something different. I don't go in there with any one particular thing. A lot of these coaches and our assistants will go in there looking for maybe a play or two here. But I look for maybe a different drill, something that engages the players and keeps them, energized. When I sit in the positional meetings with these coaches, I always see how do they keep their attention and what are they doing to keep their attention. Some do a very good job in there, some don't do a very good job in there. So anything that's different that I can take away is always a plus. And like I said, I don't go in there just with any one particular thing I'm looking for.
You mentioned a new strength and conditioning coach, and Coach Sisk was here with you for a few years, and now you got your new strength and conditioning coach. You mentioned Coach Siriano, a Boston guy, by the way. Had a good time talking to him. But, when you say strength and conditioning, people think, okay, a bunch of guys going in lifting weights, and that's not really what it is. I mean, at the base of it, that's what it is. But what does a new strength and conditioning coach bring to the equation when you make a change like that?
Well, Mike and I worked together at South Carolina. He was an assistant strength conditioning coach there, and he actually worked with the offensive line. So he and I worked hand in hand together. And what he brings and what he has brought is a toughness, an uncomfortable feeling from our players, a lot of great discipline, a lot of tough actions. What I mean by tough actions, whether it's be in the weight room, out on that football field, or whatever we're doing, he just has something that you can't relax around him. And I think in a lot of aspects, coaches, players, administration, everybody, maybe there was a little relaxation, but I like that Coach Siriano makes people uncomfortable, and we needed to be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, coming off a season in which we won 4 ball games, but led, the season really teetered this way or that way, basically game in and game out. I mean, it could have very well gone the other way as well, but you have mentioned that feeling of being uncomfortable. Explain really what you're referring to with regards all the way from you all the way down to the last guy on the roster.
Yeah, well, we'd kind of gotten, I think, as the head football coach, sometimes you get in a rut and you kind of know what to expect. And around here, especially in our offices, in that weight room and out there on that football field, from the time we came back after winter break, there was no sense of being comfortable, and we weren't in that rut. We had gotten out, we had taken a different path, and we were going in a different direction, and we were going 100 miles per hour. So that's kind of what I mean by it. And our players are settling in now to the new attitude, new adjustment, to the new discipline, quote unquote discipline, that they have to have in order to get through these things. And a lot of times, late in ball games, whether it be a year ago, we weren't disciplined enough. We would give up a personal foul that would lead to maybe a field goal or a touchdown, and those are the things that can't happen. We have to get out of that. We have to move and grow our football team. So that's what we've been doing.
Just to follow that up, you don't feel like, and maybe it's just natural that it happens coming off what was, for us, an outstanding season, 8 wins and the bowl win. Did complacency set in? And I say that in football terms, not under normal circumstances, but in a locker room and on a football field.
I don't think complacency set in. Not as coaches, not as players. I thought we were doing the same things that we had been doing. I look back at that season and I say, "God, you had 16, 17 points, and you're sitting there in a 9-10 win year, and you're saying, oh, everything's great." So it was a sense of we needed to be put in check, and that's what we're doing with them.
Well, for you, this is going to be what, season 7?
Season 7. It's wow, it goes quickly. I mean, very, very quickly. I'm when you ask a few people around here, like Allison over here, she's sitting there. She may want to kick me out after last year. Probably a lot of people did. But, yeah, season 7, and I'm thrilled to have another opportunity to go out there and put a great product on the field and continue to build this football program to be something special. And I think we have an opportunity. There's some new additions that we have on our staff, and there's some new additions we have on our football field that came in here early that have made a difference.
Do you ever stop and look back? I mean, as you enter your 7th season against spring practices, behind us now, on everything that's been accomplished. You arrived at Georgia State following a 3-9 season, and I mean, look at everything that has happened in the 6 years that you've been here. We used to record these interviews at 188 in a little makeshift office. And look at how far the program has come in the last 6.5 years since you've been here.
Yeah, it has. It's come a long way. That's largely in part of a good coaching staff, a good group of men that we have in that locker room, and a good administration. You all have to work together to put the pieces in place to be successful and to grow a program. It can't just be one particular area, but there's a lot of great things that have happened. There's a lot of greater things that can happen and will happen around here. So, that's what I'm most proud of. But I'm sitting here with a sour taste in my mouth, just like everyone else is off the season we just had. What could have been didn't turn out to be quite like we wanted it to.
I look back, and the one thing that kind of keeps me up at night is the loss to Charlotte, and give that quarterback credit. He played a great game. And then the loss to Louisiana Monroe. We win those 2 home games. We're 6-6. We're in a bowl game, and we feel like, which we are, but we feel like we're even further down the road as pushing this program forward.
I mean, honestly, Dave, you really have to bring up games like that. Those don't keep me up at night any longer. What led to those defeats is really what keeps me up. But we were right there. I mean, right there in several different areas from a year ago. Our 2 Power 5 opponents were right there. You look at the James Madison game and you think about, what exactly that you can pinpoint and say what exactly went wrong there in the second half. But we're moving forward, and we're building our football team to kind of wash away those memories. But I appreciate you bringing up those 2 losses. I appreciate that.
Well, Coach, that's why I'm here. But, you don't strike me in the 6 years that I've known you, and I think we've even talked about it. You don't strike me as a guy who, when the post-game press conference is over, whether we win or whether we don't win, that you take it home with you to any certain extent. Yeah. It may bother you for a little while, but you pretty much have struck me as the kind of guy who lets it go.
I do. I try to let it go as much as possible. I will tell you this. I walked straight out of the press conference after the Charlotte game and walked straight in this office, closed the door. Told my wife and the kids they probably needed to leave me alone for a while, and I told everybody on that coaching staff they needed to get the hell away from me too. There was a few other moments like that throughout the season. That's not a really good feeling. I don't ever want to be like that. I'm a person off the field and with my family, and you go out there and you give it everything you got, and for whatever reason it didn't work out, and you can't let this game run you down and bring you down. You certainly have the disappointments, but if you stay in it too long, you'll just, you'll wear yourself out.
Well, sometimes new blood, whether it's players or coaches, can come in and kind of change things and point them in a little bit of a new direction. You unfortunately lost your defensive coordinator to Cincinnati, Coach Fuqua, but you got a new defensive coordinator, most recently from Coastal Carolina, and that's Coach Chad Staggs. Talk a little bit about him and what he's going to bring, or what he's brought already to to this office and to the locker room.
Yeah, I had a great opportunity to hire Chad Staggs, and he had recently taken a job at Western Kentucky for a couple of weeks after Coastal Carolina, and we were able to bring him in and name him the defensive coordinator. I think he brings in a great attitude. I think he gets the attention of our players very, very quickly, gains the respect of them. In the short time that he's been here, the couple of PLPs, player-led practices that we've had, and the minimal time we've had to work and meet with these guys, they're attentive, and that I like that. I like that, and he, everybody calls it whatever they want, whether it's attitude, swag, or whatever. But he brings a little, I don't know. He walks around with a chip on his shoulder, and we all have to walk around with that chip. I think he's going to do a marvelous job right here. I think our players, he had just walked in here, and we had a PLP in here yesterday. He says the best day we've had defensively, and I said it's a good thing, and we'll continue growing and becoming better. There's going to be some new ideas, some new fronts and coverages, pressures. So it's going to be what I call a truly exciting time, because you see something totally different.
Coaching fraternity in college football is relatively small, as you know. I mean, how hard is it? Because you've got to find somebody who is not only that you get along with, but is an extension of you and your game plan, for lack of a better term, and pushing this program forward. How hard is that to find somebody like that?
Well, it's varying degrees of difficulty in hiring coaches. One, can you bring them to Atlanta? Can you bring them to Georgia State from whether it may be a Power 5 program or another, group of 5 guys, or maybe a coordinator from the FCS level. But the number one thing I want to do is have a guy that I can work with and I can trust, and someone that I've had a chance to see work in action, almost like an interview. I want to have seen them work. I want to have seen their product put out on the field, first and foremost, with me on the other side of the field, so playing against them. And I think if you can do that, and you always kind of put that list together in your mind, if this were to happen, let's go after this guy. He does a great job. He's got a great reputation. People respect him, and he's been successful. Then it's pretty easy to go and do.
I think it says a lot about what you've built here and where this program is. Again, putting aside everything else, that in the last 2 seasons we've lost 2 offensive coordinators, Coach Glenn and then Josh, and then the defensive coordinator. In other words, there's a reason why other head coaches, maybe at the Power 5 level, are looking at what you're doing and they're interested in your coaches. Sure.
I mean, we've got good coaches here. It's hard. Like a year ago, I think we lost 6 position coaches. Hey man, that's tough. It's not easy to do, but we hire good coaches, and they prove themselves on the field, and I call it the classroom, and they get the opportunity to go and further their career, and more power to them. I understand it. We all want to do that in this profession. You better all want to do it in every profession. That's what you do. You strive to become the very, very best and get to the highest level. So I wish them all good luck, and I think it does say that we're hiring some good people around here.
All right, we're talking with Georgia State's head football coach Shawn Elliott on this week's Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. We'll continue talking Georgia State football with Coach Elliott following these words from Ford and Center Park Credit Union.
Even before the victory celebration is over, great teams are back at it the next day, working to get even better. The team at Ford understands how hard work and dedication pay off. Over the last 30 years, Ford Explorer has been America's best-selling SUV. In fact, all Ford SUVs, like Explorer, Escape, and Edge, are built for victory. Score a great offer today at your local Ford dealer. Based on total cumulative OEM reported U.S. sales for all SUVs from calendar year 1990 through calendar year 2019.
Center Park Credit Union, the official financial sponsor of GSU football, is proud to be a part of the Georgia State community and the Panther Athletics program. Center Park provides members convenient financial services. In addition to online banking, mobile banking, and 7 Metro Atlanta branches, Center Park members have access to 5,000 co-op shared branches and 75,000 surcharge-free ATMs nationwide. To find a location near you, visit online at centerpark.org/contact, and that's park with a C. Not a member? Join today at centerpark.org. At Center Park, we help our members flourish. And we're back on the Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. Dave Cohen here from Center Park Credit Union Stadium at Georgia State. And again, we're talking Panther football with Coach Elliott as we welcome him back to the Panther radio microphones. Before we start talking about some personnel, what are some things as you've gone back and watched film and then you remember it obviously in real time, some things that kind of popped out to you from the spring game?
Oh, from the spring game? I mean, it's good competition. I don't take a whole lot from the spring game because there's varying degrees of equal they draft their players. So some may draft heavy offensive line, some may draft heavy defensive line. One team only had 2 defensive linemen over there and had to make a trade. So I don't take a whole lot away from the spring game. Big performance from KZ Adams, and he does it every single day. So that wasn't surprising. When I just look at our entire football team, they were out. They competed in that game. They had fun in that game, and it was taken serious. Even though the 2 rosters probably weren't as equal as they should have been, but I let them do the drafting, so they had to pick who they thought were the best. And somehow, some way, it didn't all work out. But it was a good game. Proud of them. We ended it the right way, and looking forward to this summer. I'm
going to ask you about KZ in a minute, but one of the highlights. When you awarded your, I guess now front line, but at the time he was the backup long snapper, you awarded him a scholarship, and that was a great moment, as it is any time you're able to do that with any player. Yeah,
Bernstein. Bernstein had to step in last season, injured for Seth, and became our long snapper. And when you're a true freshman, you walk in there, and you got to deliver that snap and deliver it on point. That's hard to do. People don't understand that. And he put a lot of pressure on himself to get better. He was one of our best cover guys. He gave great effort, and he's fun to be around. So anytime you come into our program, you make a difference on the field and off the field and in the classroom, then you deserve the scholarship. I mean, that's what it's all about. These are not giving. They're not given away. And he earned every opportunity to make that money.
Well, one area of special teams that certainly stepped up, a season ago, as you mentioned. You mentioned KZ Adams. Guy put up incredible numbers in high school in South Carolina. How did you find him, but obviously you found him, and you saw what is hopefully going to be a really good fit in our backfield. He didn't get a lot of carries, obviously, this last year because of Tucker and Jemias and a little bit that Marcus was able to do. But now it's going to be Marcus Carroll, and it looks like KZ's found himself a role.
Yes, it's going to be a 1-2, 2-1, they're going to go at it. And, KZ's done a really good job. Last year, KZ could have had an opportunity to go in there and play, but we have good backs in front of him. And he probably didn't know everything he needed to know at the time. So we were able to hold him out there. He got a couple carries, nothing to write home about. But this is going to be his season. Him and Marcus are going to share the backfield right there and have an opportunity to showcase their talents in a very, very big way.
What's exciting about Marcus Carroll is, and everybody got a look-see at Southern Miss and what he's capable of doing and the kind of numbers that he's capable of putting up.
Yeah, Mr. Muscle is what I call him because he's a rocked-up individual, tough, big back. loves to run the football, takes very, very a lot of great pride in carrying the football, and he's going to have a big year for us. Like I said, when those two, and they're so different because Casey's so elusive and Marcus is such a power back. It's going to be fun to watch them.
Well, Georgia State's been, one of the top running teams in the country in FBS football the last few years, and big part of the reason was because of all the experience that we put out there in that offensive line. Talk a little bit about where we are with that in the last couple of years. Obviously, we've graduated some pretty good offensive linemen, starting with Shamarius and then Pat, and forget who else I'm missing here, but Malik Sumter.
Yeah, I think on the offensive line, there's going to be some familiarity with some guys up front. Travis Glover will man a tackle position. Montavious Cunningham's going to handle another one right there. Lou Cristobal, that came in and did so well for us last fall in the Army game, and then had a head injury, a concussion there later on in the year, is back to man that spot at left guard right there. Brought in a transfer in Tyden Ferris. That has a wealth of experience, and another transfer in Lamar Robinson. And then you'll see Avery Reese at this point in time man that center position. So a few different names, still a lot of experience. I think when you bring back, if you look at it, you got Cristobal, you got Glover, you got Montavious. I mean, there's three starters returning. And then you got Tyden that started for 3 years, the transferring in. And Lamar started as a true freshman over there. So, yeah, we've got a lot of experience, and there's a lot of guys backing them up. John Brown made, great strides in the spring. Cam Dye, I mean, those guys, Alec Johnson. So you're going to see some guys get out there and mix some things up.
And the thing I like about it is you've told me before, and I know some are obviously penned in, others are penciled in, but you like the competition factor not only in spring, but by the time we get to fall.
Yeah, you got to have the competition. Sometimes that's where you can get in that rut I talked about. If you don't have the competition to push some of these guys, and some of those guys on our team a year ago had been here for a long, long time and have played a lot of games. It's going to be great to see the new faces, but the competition is always key.
On the wide receiver front, obviously we lost our leading wide receiver to the transfer portal, and I'm going to ask you about the portal here in a little while, but still, Robert Lewis is back. I mean, you look at the stable of wide receivers, and I think even going back to year one of Georgia State football, if Georgia State football has had one thing every year, outstanding receivers.
Yeah, 2 years ago I think we lost a wide receiver as well, and for whatever reason, people they tend to panic, when somebody leaves. And I'm like, hey guys, we actually recruited guys behind them to play, and then you got Thrash. He emerges and becomes the receiver, quote unquote, of the group. But man, we've got really, really talented receivers. Robert Lewis, the transfer we got in here, Jakari Carter. He's going to be phenomenal. Cradle right there again. Talik Williams. I mean, so you got guys. They're going to step up. Robert Lewis, had he not torn his hamstring, may have been the biggest performer we had on the offense. Coming out in the first 4 games, he was on fire. He's going to have another quote unquote breakout year, and we just got to keep him healthy.
Well, the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. We've lost, I think you said 7. Well, we lost more than that, but 7 what we'll call starters or top-line players, but yet we're also pulling out of it along with what you've signed from the high school ranks. It's just the new world that we live in.
It is. You can't do anything about it. If you'd asked me 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, would I be dabbling in the portal? I would have probably said only if I have to. And when you lose players to the portal, older guys, you've got to go replace them with older, experienced guys. Otherwise, your roster will become so young. It's going to be hard. We've done what I think is a pretty good job of replacing the guys that we have that we had leave, and they've come in here and done a nice job, and we're going to add some more.
The one guy, the one transfer, and I know obviously kids have been transferring for a while, but the one that really for us was the first one to kind of make me take notice was when Jordan Strawn, after an outstanding season, went to South Carolina. And then all of a sudden now it seems like every day you're looking on, if you're on social media, it's transfer portal this, transfer portal that. For us, he seemed, if I remember correctly, he was the first one of significance.
Yes, he was definitely the first one that shocked me. and having him leave, and then have him leave and go to South Carolina. So, yeah, that kind of started it all. But, I mean, eyes are wide open now. I don't think anybody across the country at any level is going to be shocked by what you see here in the next few years. It will always be, an eye-opening experience for me because, just like this portal's coming up here in May, on May 1 it starts. You're not sure who's going to walk through that door and say, hey, and who's got the opportunity to go maybe make some money elsewhere. Somebody's in their ear. You just never know these days.
Again, you were a former player. You played at Appalachian State, and obviously there was no transfer portal back then. I'm not going to say how long ago that was. But at the very core of what the transfer portal is on the side of the student-athlete, do you like it?
Oh,
in other words, the opportunities that it provides for student-athletes that for years have not been there?
I think we all got into the business of team sports because we love being around a team and growing a culture and seeing how you grew together and aged and matured and then ultimately became the finished product when you're a senior. When I went into Appalachian State, I think we had 42 newcomers walk through that door. And when I walked out, we only had 6 left. We were the ones that made it. We were the ones that made it through all the tough times and grew a program and made it the very, very best it could be. I love team building. I love building a program and seeing a guy go from, the raw freshman that you don't think he can walk and chew gum at the same time, and then 2 years later, here he is. He's starting for you, and you're so proud of what he did and what he overcame. Sometimes I think it gives the opportunity for a player to quit very easy because they don't use the word quit any longer. They use, I'm going to transfer, and they really don't have any intention of transferring. They just say, gives them kind of that excuse. My dad, he would have told me, you shut up, you sit down, you're going to play there, and you're not going anywhere, But, of course, if somebody's sitting there offering you $75,000, $100,000, he may would have said back then, well, let's think about this, Hold on for a second. We're not at that point. I don't think. We had a few players make some dollars in these transfers, some significant money. I don't think we're moving in that direction, but we did have some very good players. And, I'm very proud of them for them moving on and having the opportunity to play at these bigger programs. I just hope it all works out for them.
I think I heard you correctly when we were at the spring tour stop about the transfer portal and how it is affecting, we'll call it group of 5 as opposed to power 5, for lack of a better term. You're seeing some group of 5s now, for lack of a better term, invest in that area. Is that something that you see more group of 5s as you talk to other coaches around the Sun Belt and the G5 moving in that direction in order to maybe not lose players to the same extent to the Power 5 because of the money difference?
Oh yes, there's a lot of things that have gone on with teams in our league and a lot of group of 5. You got to get in the race. You got to become a player in this game. Otherwise, you're gonna really fall way behind, and you won't be able to catch up because once that's established, they have the upper hand on you. I still always believe that the big boys are going to come in here and be able to take who they want. I mean, it's just a farm system now. You got a good player, watch out because they're going to have some money and some big-time money to come pluck them right from your roster. So there's nothing you can do about it. I don't think at this point in time we're going to have to be we're not going to have that opportunity to go combat a Southern California coming in here trying to grab a guy or a Louisville. And I really know exactly the kind of the backwards dealings of what went on at Louisville because my college roommate was the head coach at Louisville before he went to Cincinnati, so I knew what they were doing prior. And when that guy went to Louisville, I was like, well, he got what he probably was asking for.
Or North Carolina or Miami. We lost a couple of pretty good players.
Or West Virginia.
Or West.
Where else did they go? I don't know.
But that's just the world that college football is right now. Real quick, let's touch on the defensive side. Again, we lost some pretty good players, but I'm so happy that Blake Carroll looks like he's on the road to recovery, far down the road to recovery. The last time I talked to him, he's going to be back solid again in the middle there with he and with the inside linebackers.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and you're going to see some new faces playing I won't say maybe some familiar faces playing new positions in that inside linebacker group right there. Blake is coming along. We're happy to have him back. Jordan's back, of course. John Trey Hunter. I mean, if you've seen him now, he's about 245 pounds, and you may see him play a little bit of that box area right there. But when you look at our defense, I mean, the guys that headline us coming back, Javon Dennis, I mean, what a fantastic player he is. God, just love him to death. He just keeps his head down and works. Talked about those guys. Justin Abraham. It is time for Justin Abraham and Jordan Jones to step on that football field and make a difference. I think they had a great spring, and I think they if Blake and Jordan if they don't watch out, they're gonna push them right out. And I would tell them that if they're sitting right in here. Shamar McCullum. You look at him. I mean, even though we lost that guy to Southern California, Shamar actually ended up starting over him there late in the year. And Shamar has really done a nice job. He was injured during spring, but he's going to be a big-time player coming back, and you're going to see a lot of production out of him. Kevin Swin, a guy that transferred in right there, Keith Brown in the secondary, Tony McCray, guys like that, Jeremiah Johnson, JJ, just guys that really give us experience, and they've got a new attitude. If you see us work out there, look at Keith Brown. He's so energetic and so vocal now with our football team, and people are rallying around him. Jalen Tate's back, So there's a lot of big things that we have to look forward to, and there's a lot of newcomers that you're going to see.
All right, well, we've talked a lot of football, Coach, and again, the early springs giving this team the opportunity on the back end to get in a lot of work, but we've talked about this before. What do you like to do when you get the break? I know college athletics and college football is basically 365 days a year practically. And I know you love going out on the boat. You like being on the water. Is that really where it kind of take-me-away moment to get away from all of this?
It really is. I try to exercise as much as I can. I may not look like it, but I love to do that. That ultimately takes me away from all the frustration and maybe the headaches and the things of that. And if I go run or if I go get a great workout in, that takes me away from a lot of things. But there's nothing better than doggone. Sometimes it's just working on the boat. I don't know. Maybe that's what I bought the boat for, but I love to just go clean it and then get it sharp and take it out on that water and just relax. There's nothing better than that engine purring and that wind blowing, and it's a nice time. I've always been like that from probably the day I was born. I just love being on a boat.
And where is this boat? Where do you keep this boat, and what lake are you on?
Well, I keep it on Lake Murray, but that boat goes about everywhere I go. So it may be in the Keys, it may be on the coast of South Carolina, maybe on the coast of Georgia, but for the most part, it's going to stay on Lake Murray right there in Columbia, right outside of Columbia, in Chapin, South Carolina.
All right. Well, enjoy it. I know it's only a small window that you get to enjoy it until all of a sudden we'll be talking about fall practice, but appreciate you joining us on the podcast. Great to catch up and great to find out what's going on with Georgia State football. And as I said, we open up with Rhode Island on August 31. That'll be here before you know it. Fall practice will be here even earlier before you know it.
To tell you the truth, we come out of spring practice and we haven't stopped. We jump right in our winter workouts, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays we have the player-led practices, and those things are going to lead right up through August. So it hasn't stopped. We have an opportunity to work with them without a ball out there and get some individual time, some meeting time, and our guys are really stepping up and doing a great job. So, yes, August will be here pretty quickly, but like I said, it never really stops.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, want to thank Georgia State's head football coach, as always, Shawn Elliott, joining us here on the latest Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. As a reminder to Georgia State fans, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you download your podcast. We're back again soon when we'll have another special guest on the Panther Insider podcast. This is Dave Cohen saying thanks for listening. We'll see you at Center Park Stadium, and as always, go Panthers!